JD Vance just screwed Donald Trump again. And this time, it's because of a brand new signal leak. Yes, Mike Waltz got caught leaking again during his final cabinet meeting with JD right there in the chat. It's chaos, it's fresh, and it's humiliating. Let's unpack the whole disaster. The chaos kicked off with this segment on the economy.
First time in 3 years, people are pointing to the tariff policy. There are people looking at their 401ks that are worried. What do you tell them? Is this going to work?
So the first thing is, when you talk about the economy, this is Joe Biden's economy, and we inherited $2 trillion of debt, the highest peacetime deficits in American history, a $1.2 trillion trade deficit, which fundamentally means we're not making enough of our own stuff. And the president came in and he said, this is not always going to be easy. It would have been very easy for Donald Trump to do what administrations past have done, which is borrow a lot of money and continue fueling the national debt. He said, no, we need a reset. We need American workers to have better jobs. We need to protect the jobs that they have right now. And we need to be more self-reliant as an economy, which, by the way, will drive down those skyrocketing levels of debt that we've seen. That is what he promised he was going to do. And he came in and we've started that process. Now,
this is where JD Vance starts doing mental gymnastics that would injure a lesser man. First, he blames Biden for the economy, while defending Donald Trump's economic reset plan, which apparently consists of vibes. Because last we checked, Trump's biggest contributions to American industry were a scam university and some mail order steaks. Let's be clear, Trump was the economy. He signed the budgets, he ran the show, he bragged about it non-stop until it started to tank. Now suddenly, it's Biden's fault. Pick a lane. And the whole "we inherited this deficit" line, you inherited it from yourselves. That's like setting your own house on fire and then blaming the firefighters for the smoke. Also, let's not pretend JD Vance gave an answer. He just said reset a bunch of times and hoped Brett Baer would move on. But he didn't, because next Brett hit him with the question they're all dodging: why Mike Waltz really got the axe.
President, thanks for the time.
good to see you.
I want to talk to you about all this trip and what the purpose of it and your speech.
Sure.
But I want to start with the breaking news.
Yeah.
Why was Mike Waltz let go?
So he wasn't let go. He is being made ambassador to the United Nations, which of course is a Senate-confirmed position. I think you can make a good argument that it's a promotion. But we brought Mike on to do some serious reforms of the National Security Council. He has done that. I like Mike. I think he's a great guy. He's got the trust of both me and the president. But we also thought that he'd make a better UN ambassador as we get beyond this stage of the reforms that we've made to the National Security Council.
Ah yes, the classic "he wasn't fired, he was promoted" move. Nothing screams damage control quite like pretending someone got a shiny new job right after blowing up their old one. According to JD, Mike Waltz wasn't tossed out, he was elevated straight into diplomatic exile. The United Nations, folks, aka the place Trump once called a club for people to have a good time. That's where you send someone when you want them far away from the real action. Also, can we talk about the irony? Trump, the guy who barely understood NATO, is now appointing his scandal-splattered loyalists to represent America on a global stage. What's next? Rudy Giuliani as ambassador to cybersecurity? And JD Vance trying to sell it like it's a promotion is hilarious. It's like saying your coworker didn't get fired. They just got relocated to Siberia. Don't worry, it only gets weirder from here. Next clip is where it really starts unraveling.
You saw the president announce that Marco Rubio is going to step in as interim leader of the National Security Council. So I think the media wants to frame this as a firing. Donald Trump has fired a lot of people. He doesn't give them Senate-confirmed appointments afterwards. What he thinks is that Mike Waltz is going to better serve the administration, most importantly the American people in that role, and I happen to agree with him.
Ah yes, Marco Rubio, America's favorite bobblehead, is suddenly in charge of national security, and JD is still clinging to the idea that Waltz's exit was a glamorous send-off, not the obvious political quarantine that it is. You've gotta love the spin. He wasn't fired, he was upgraded to a new position far away after leaking classified information during a national scandal. Totally checks out. If Waltz was really so good at his job, why toss him out of the job entirely? The man oversaw one of the biggest national security leaks in modern presidential history, and the MAGA crowd is treating him like he just won a medal. It's like saying the Titanic's captain did such a great job that he's now been promoted to run the lifeboats. But JD isn't done humiliating himself, because next he finally responds to the actual question that's been floating above this mess like a smoke alarm.
Is it a direct result of the Signal chat? I mean, you were on that chat and we saw the fallout from it. Is this a result of that?
No, it's not, Brett. I mean, look, what we came into the administration, and of course the president in his first term had some serious issues with the National Security Council. He said, Mike, you need to go in here, fire, frankly, a lot of people who aren't loyal to my agenda, who we think aren't even loyal to the American people, bring in the right collection of people to actually make the National Security Council function. And Mike has done that. And now it's time for Mike to do something else because he's done the job that I think he was asked to do. If the president wanted to fire him over the signal thing, which, by the way, was a total nothing burger of a story, he would have just done it. But he actually decided it's better for Mike to be in this new role. He's given Mike the new role. That's it.
A nothing burger, huh? That's JD's official classification for leaked classified intel coming from an encrypted messaging app used by Trump's inner circle during a sensitive internal operation. Sure, JD, no one's using Signal anymore, and apparently no one's reading JD and Waltz's leaked texts either. Except, oh wait, everyone, because they just surfaced today. And the fallout? Oh, it's coming. Stick around.
Fired idiot Waltz leaked one last Signal chat with Vance before getting boot. Fired National Security Advisor Mike Waltz can't help but leak his Signal chats. Waltz, whose downfall was precipitated by Signalgate in March, was photographed on the messaging application again on Wednesday during his final cabinet meeting as a member of Donald Trump's cabinet. A zoomed-in look at Waltz's phone shows he was texting Vice President J.D. Vance and had a voice call with Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard. In other Signal chats, the list of names were Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. I have seen confirmation from my counterpart it's turned off. The message with Vance reads, he's going to be here.
Oh, Mike Waltz. Even on his way out the door, the man just couldn't help himself. One last Signal leak, like a farewell gift to national security, or maybe just a parting middle finger to the concept of operational secrecy. Because yes, fired National Security Advisor Mike Oops I Did It Again Waltz was caught red-handed mid-text during his final cabinet meeting. And not just any text, a Signal message with J.D. Vance during a cabinet meeting, with cameras present. How is this real life? Zoom in on his phone and you'll see it clear as day. Chatting with JD, calling Tulsi Gabbard, Signal threaded with Rubio, and some special envoy no one's ever heard of. It's like a group chat from the Twilight Zone, and somehow these are the people overseeing national security. And then there's that message from Vance. He's going to be here. Vague, cryptic, and deeply sketchy. What is this? A teen drama? A spy novel? Or just Trump's cabinet trying to cosplay as a government? One thing's for sure, if this is their idea of secure communication, we're all in trouble. And trust me, it gets even dumber next.
The exposed phone screen epitomizes Waltz's 101-day stint leading the National Security Council, the second shortest in White House history, trailing only Donald Trump's first National Security Secretary, Michael Flynn, who lasted just 3 weeks. Trump stood behind Waltz in the aftermath of the Signalgate scandal, perhaps hesitant to see his administration suffer from the same sort of intense turnover that plagued his first. Politico reported Thursday that Trump began searching for a Waltz replacement weeks ago, however, in the intermediate aftermath of the Signal fiasco. Rubio has been named as temporary replacement, but the long-term national security advisor is yet to be announced by the White House. Witkoff has been named as the likely favorite in reports. Waltz, who left his job as a Republican congressman from a deep red district in Florida to join the Trump administration, was announced Thursday as Trump's ambassador to the United Nations.
So let's just get this straight. In his final hours as National Security Advisor, a job meant to protect America from threats foreign and domestic, Mike Waltz is casually leaking Signal texts on camera again. This man was literally photographed messaging J.D. Vance in real time during a cabinet meeting. It's like the finale of a political sitcom, except the national security implications are real, and the jokes write themselves. And here's the cherry on top. Waltz didn't even bother with a privacy screen protector. You know, those $8 things that prevent exactly this from happening? Nope, not for Waltz. Man's running classified chats like he's texting lunch orders at a Wendy's drive-thru, and Vance somehow is still out here defending this guy. Like this is the hill he wants to die on. It's the blind leading the blind into a Signal leak. Trump, for what it's worth, stood by Waltz for a while. probably trying to avoid looking like his administration's on fire again. But even he quietly started shopping for a replacement weeks ago. Now we've got Rubio filling in, and rumors are flying about who's next. But before we get to that mess, Senator Chris Murphy had something to say, and it's brutal.
The White House says it has signed an economic partnership with Ukraine. The deal will give America access to some of Ukraine's critical minerals and natural resources. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says this will accelerate Kyiv's economic recovery and repay America for the U.S. military aid it has provided, something President Trump has been demanding. According to the Washington Post, the deal falls short of providing any concrete security guarantees to Ukraine, but it does affirm a, quote, long-term strategic alignment with the United States. Joining us now, Democratic member of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, Senator Chris Murphy of Connecticut. Thank you for joining us. What do you make of this agreement?
It's nonsense. It just is. Most of the minerals that are available for exploitation in Ukraine are in the parts of Ukraine that are controlled by Russia. And so this agreement doesn't really mean much if Russia continues to own eastern Ukraine and continues to march towards Kyiv. And right now, all indications are that Donald Trump's policy is to hand Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. And in that case, this agreement isn't worth the paper that it's written on. Vladimir Putin isn't sitting down to negotiate for one simple reason, because Donald Trump is telling him, I am not going to continue to support Ukraine militarily, no matter what, whether you sit down at the table or if you don't sit down at the table. So Vladimir Putin looks at that and says, why would I negotiate? You're telling me you are giving up on Ukraine. So if I just continue to fight the war, I will ultimately own everything I have now, or potentially everything, including Kyiv. So this agreement means nothing if the Trump policy is, as it is today, to hand over Ukraine to Vladimir Putin. That's the direction that we are heading in. And right now, there is no sign that Vladimir Putin's giving up on the war, and no sign that we're ever getting any deal on minerals, because Vladimir Putin's going to be in charge.
So Trump's big plan to help Ukraine now involves trading access to minerals they don't even control? According to Chris Murphy, and, well, reality, this deal is just another Trump photo op pretending to be policy. Most of those minerals, they're buried under Russian-occupied territory. So unless Trump's planning to parachute into eastern Ukraine with a shovel, this agreement means absolutely nothing. And if Trump's just going to sit back and let Putin steamroll Ukraine, why would Putin ever come to the table? He's basically getting a handwritten note from Trump that says, take whatever you want, just save me a photo op. This isn't strategy, it's surrender disguised as paperwork. And yes, the paper is about as valuable as a Trump diploma.
So, Senator, how do you interpret the comments coming from the White House from Scott Bessent, for example, that this is some sort of a security guarantee because the United States isn't going to want to be doing business in Ukraine with Ukrainians and have those business interests attacked? I mean, we're murky on the details of this deal yet. We haven't really got them, but we have had Scott Bessent come out kind of saying that they want a free, sovereign and independent Ukraine, for example. Well, that would go against the idea that Russia could just walk in 3 years' time and take Ukraine.
Yeah, these guys lie. I mean, they lie. That's not true, right? Donald Trump spent all of the last year of Biden's presidency trying to kill aid for Ukraine. If Donald Trump got his way, Ukraine wouldn't have any weapons right now. Donald Trump has no plans to resupply Ukraine. And by the way, Ukraine's going to start running out of bullets and start running out of serious weaponry by the summer and fall of this year. That's why Putin continues to march forward, refuses to sit down at the negotiating table. So, there are all sorts of instances in which the president's national security team goes out and tells a story that isn't true. What is true, unfortunately, is that Trump has decided that he will never support any additional weapons for Ukraine. Europe will try to fill in the breach, but there are certain weapon systems that only the United States can provide. And without us, Vladimir Putin ultimately is going to win this war. That's just the truth, no matter what Scott Bessent or Marco Rubio says.
There it is. The brutal truth, straight from Senator Chris Murphy. Trump Trump world is selling fantasy while Ukraine is literally running out of ammunition. And this is exactly what Trump's chaos always leads to. Republicans love to pretend it's all just mean tweets and triggered libs, but the cost of his incompetence? It's real, it's global, and it lands in your life. Signalgate wasn't just a tech blunder. It exposed the rotting core of Trump's national security machine. And the foreign policy? It's being shaped by half-baked press releases, leaked texts, and JD Vance playing defense like a clueless intern at a war room. Meanwhile, Trump undercuts Ukraine, weakens the dollar with unhinged rants at the Fed, and tanks global confidence in US leadership. This isn't just political theater. This is your economy, your security, and your country on the line. And trust us, the next Trump disaster, it's already unfolding. Click on it. Until then, see you soon.